Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Cerberus at the Improv. We're off to a good start. We're having some technical issues with Rumble, so if you're on Rumble, you obviously can't hear this, but you go head on over to YouTube or X. Tim, how's it going?
Turn on closed captions if you're on Rumble. Today's a good day. I been playing with some AI development tools just as a side project and realizing that AI is going to do for Web 3.0 what the Gutenberg press did for printing. It's astonishing, truly astonishing. Yeah. So yeah, Terminators are coming. Fact.
No, they're already here.
They're already here. Yeah, they just don't have bodies. They're just lurking around in your finances, waiting for you to donate to the convoy.
I guess we're off to a depressing start, but that's
Yay.
par for the course. Tim, I noticed you're too cheap today. You don't have a second subheading.
Oh, because I
want to
forgot.
expend the energy. Yeah, we'll let you do that. We'll go to Andre. Andre, how's it going?
I'm doing fine, especially after this article that you sent me from Jason James. You sent me. It was a small article on Substack. The title is "The Narrow Gate: Atomic Blonde and the Tucker Carlson Effect," and I will just quote a small part of it because I found that article very funny. He says they don't know why they had it, or even if it was theirs to begin with, but it made sense, so they committed themselves to it. Who wants to be an artist or an athlete or a writer anyway? And a little bit more far, so they spend their free moments meticulously combing over every blade of grass. End quote. So why I say this, it's now I know the reason why I am a writer. I don't meticulously comb over every blade of grass on my land. That's it. That my purpose is over. Dos Vidania. I can see you next week. That was a very good article from Jason.
That's a great show, boys. See you later.
Right,
very funny article.
It was a good one.
Funny
yes, he's a good writer, but that one I liked especially. I think the premise is he's like he moonlights as a, what do you call it, an Uber driver. So he picks this girl up, and she's like, "I know you. You're that racist white supremacist." Like this, your typical West Vancouver, limousine liberal.
Yes, yeah, that's funny. Or because you're from West Vancouver, you have a complex of superiority, because who cares about you come from Vancouver or Montreal or Toronto? That's very good article. Very funny.
Yeah, everybody go ahead and read that. It's on Jason James's Substack.
Okay. Else I finish my canning finally.
Hey, if you want, Andre, you can just read the entire article right now. Put the show on.
175 pots of canning this year.
How many kilos?
Well, we had 100 kilos of tomato, but we didn't beat the record.
Not even Italian or Spanish.
Yeah, now I've discovered that maybe I am from Latvia.
Latvia?
Yes, because Oskar Miloš was a Latvian poet, and I've known this poet since many years, but I never knew he was from Latvia. It's a little bit disappointing for me, but
you know what? I'm gonna go there, Andre. I'm gonna make a comment Tim usually makes. What is a French Canadian gonna do with that many tomatoes? Like, what are you gonna do with
it? We sell it on black market.
That's racist.
No,
we're selling it on the gray.
You're right. We have to say now. I will sell it on
gray market. Is politically correct.
Gray,
and all of the prepper gray market. The term we use in our conspiracy theory conversations is gray market, because black market is racist.
Okay, if we do a show on gardening, I don't mind. But in 2018, we did 240 pots of canning, so we did not even beat our record.
Wow. That's impressive work for a Latvian or a would-be Latvian, probably.
Man,
I don't know. I'm not a biologist.
it is not confirmed. Huh? It is not confirmed. I think I will not
Unconfirmed
go.
reports that Mr. Andre Milosh of Montreal, Quebec, may actually be Latvian. So he's been lying for the last 35 years.
Until we have digital ID, it is not confirmed.
You think our audience, they're like, yeah, I like Cerberus at the Improv because I like watching three old men ramble incoherently.
In complete incoherence. Well, you haven't even pulled up the agenda, so we're just
all right. Let's go.
We're free range chickens now. Free range ostriches, free range chickens.
So the first topic today is Lindsay Shephard, and I didn't know she existed until like yesterday. So Tim, what are we dealing with here?
Lindsay Shephard was a student at Sir Wilfrid Laurier University. I think she was an adjunct professor or a student teacher. She was in her 3rd or 4th year. So part of her work was actually doing a curriculum and providing it to the students. And so this is back in 2021 or 22, early, right in the when Peterson was becoming a thing. So after the compelled speech discussions, stuff like that. And she was doing a social justice course or program in her class. And as part of that, aired a TV Ontario episode where Jordan Peterson was interviewed discussing compelled speech. And so she was giving it as this is a counterpoint, right? So this is the social justice curriculum that I provided for the students, delivering it to the students, aired this segment from a TV program in Ontario that had been pre-recorded. It was publicly available, and she aired that segment. Very shortly afterwards, she got called on the carpet by Sir Wilfrid Laurier's woke henchman, who said that she had caused trauma to a complainant who was never identified and later appeared to have actually been somebody from faculty or this actual woke council itself. She was concerned that she was going to be dragged across the carpet and have no defense, so she recorded the meeting between her and the 3 administrators, and then she released it online, and all hell broke loose. So that was her breaking into fame. And of course, Peterson sees this and sees that he was partially responsible. So there was this relationship formed with him publicly, being able to expound on just how bad things had become within the university system in Canada, where even a capable student who had been delivering an approved curriculum could still be dragged down the carpet for coloring outside the lines. So part of the offshoot of this is when all of that begins to die down, the resurging British Columbia Conservative Party hires her. Obviously, it's a good idea, and it's in her spirit, it's her career, it's her work, so it's just a good fit. The Conservative Party of British Columbia later has trouble because Dallas Brody, Tara Armstrong, and Grant, I can't remember his last name. I think it's Grant. I could even be wrong about his last name because he's basically moved away from the public light altogether since then. These were 3 MPs where Dallas Brody spoke out in the chamber, the legislature in BC, against, saying that the Kamloops school, the story that was being given to the public was false. She said it's false.
The graves.
These quote unquote graves, she said they are not graves. There are no bodies in them. It has not been exhumed. There's no proof of this. And there are agents and agencies that are taking advantage of this for their own gain. That this has to stop. And she said at a provincial level, we must not participate in this. We have to stop this. As a result, the BC Conservative executive kicked her from the party, and Tara and Grant went with or came soon after. So this is around 1.5 years ago now. So then now what happens this week is when the orange flag goes up at the BC legislature in Victoria, Lindsay Shephard makes comments that are available on her X or Twitter, which you could pull up if you like, where she simply says, "This is wrong. This is a lie. We cannot put this flag on legislative grounds. It's wrong." And as a result, the party kicked her.
She was already kicked out.
She was still participating, employed with the executive of the Conservative Party. So she's not an employee of the legislature. She's an employee of the party, right? And so there are the comments that she made. She said, "This is wrong." And so she was removed from her position. She was communications officer. So, and that's because of this tweet. So, and then she's removed. And then the Toronto Sun decides that they're going to point their big moral finger and suggest that the BC Conservative Party has trouble because it doesn't know how to properly punish her. But that's a logical fallacy. It's not about in what way they should punish her. That's the newspaper accepting the narrative, right? They're acting as though the narrative is true and that she has transgressed by. So this ends up turning into a quasi hate speech scenario, according to the new legislations that we'll talk about later on, right? So she's been kicked. Now she's in the same political melee, right, as Dallas Brody, Tara Armstrong, and Grant, who's no longer in the picture because he's probably the smarter one of the bunch and doesn't want anything to do with this anymore. Lindsay makes note about the Conservative Party removing a woman who is out ready to give birth, and my thought is, that's immaterial. Why don't you stick to the facts? They're removing you because you told the truth, right? Your biology or your state of giving, creating a new is immaterial in my point, and that amounts to emotional blackmail, and I'm not playing that either. And to be honest, as much as I appreciate that she's come out and said this thing and that she's now become the lightning rod for this discussion again, especially since we just had this Truth and Reconciliation holiday, right? That they've done all their orange stuff very recently and again shoved it all down our throats. So in spite of the fact that she stood up and said something, I'm not really excited about what she's done because a year and a half ago, 3 other people did it and she kept her full mouth shut.
Oh, thank you for the politically correct
she did. She had an opportunity, right? And perhaps she being younger and not well known and only an employee of the party, et cetera, as the comms manager and whatnot, might not have gotten the same, public awareness and, public limelight because, obviously, Dallas and Tara and Grant, obviously they would because they're MLAs. But so she does this now and she gets this exposure. I'm not saying that I don't like her. She's been through the ringer and she's managed to make something out of it because she's in a decent career and she's doing what she believes to be the right thing. My concern is that we have individuals who should have spoken up when the crisis was originally brought to light and they did not. And now at a later time, they make their statements and whatnot, but it doesn't, to me, it doesn't feel genuine because it feels a bit like riding on the shoulders of giants. Yes, you're the one riding on the shoulder of the giant, but you're not the giant. The giant's the one doing the work. And that's Dallas Brody, Tara Armstrong, and Grant, whose name I still can't remember, right?
Keeley?
So
you're talking about the Keeley gentleman? The
Grant
cowboy hat guy.
I don't know. I could complete brain lapse on his actual last name. It might not even be Grant. But my point is, now Toronto Sun steps in trying to make hay off of this. And to me, the public relations mistake was attaching her pregnancy as some type of defense or and I don't like it. I don't buy it. I'd rather you just went straight down the line, hard, cold, and said, this is bullshit, right? That the entire truth and reconciliation nonsense is about people in positions of power and influence taking advantage of the truth of the situation. And unfortunately, a lot of people are being thrown under the bus, used, right, as the poster child of the current, right? I'm going to get in some kind of trouble for this. The Indigenous people of Canada are equivalent to the Black population of America around the 60s and 70s. There you go, wearing a cowboy hat, right? Good. Keeley, is it Jordan? Yeah, that sounds right. So not Gerald or Gordon. Did I say Gordon? I said Grant. I'm not even close. So to me, this is wokeism and intersectionalism and Marxist garbage driving a divisive wedge into Canada's shame. And there is a degree of it, because there can be no doubt that the Indigenous people have been beat the hell up, right? But the what's currently happening is not merited, and it prevents us from having an open and honest conversation, and it makes everybody too overly sensitive on both sides of the aisle, right? So that's just my thought.
That is a great intro.
There, Clown World. It's about people who speak up and only affects them directly. It's true. It's true. And I get it. It's human. Like, this straight up psychology. I totally get it. But if you're in public office, or if you work for public office, you have assumed a certain social responsibility to do the right thing, right? Because let's say I'm an MLA or I'm an MP, and we go back to the philosophical, right, and the noblesse oblige element of being a representative. My employees, right, my comms officer or my staff manager or my driver, they too bear a degree of this responsibility, in my opinion.
That was a great opening. We're going to go to Andre. I just want to make a couple of statements first. Sundown 95 and Squirrel Nuts, thank you very much for reposting the stream. If anybody else can repost, it would help. We got to get our numbers up so we can start making money. We're living off of Mr. Milosha's canned tomatoes at this point. So we need whatever support we can get. And also, in case you have noticed, my camera stand is slowly slipping. So it's like I'm on a boat. I'm trying to straighten myself up. But go ahead, Andre.
No, you're not, Payman. You're not in a boat. You're in Canada. That's why rocking the boat.
Yeah,
you're rocking the
waters.
country. That was a great introduction, Tim. And I will point out something. We live in a feminist society based on emotion and not on reason. And don't forget, when we go on social media, most people, they react with emotion all the time. That's why people don't read, because it takes time and it takes calm and it takes reason. Many people, they will not read. Toward Lindsay Shephard, she's a young woman. You cannot expect to have rational behavior at this age, and especially she's pregnant. So don't forget one thing: biology is there, and it affects. I do agree with Tim. This is not a rational argument, but the reaction, in my opinion, is quite natural. What is not natural, it is what Tim pointed out. The Toronto Sun recycling the idea and painting her again. It's always the same thing. Painting her against an official narrative. There's no official narrative. He said it. Yeah. Where are the remains? We know this, but let's not forget, in a post-truth era, you say something today and you forgot, and tomorrow you not even remember what you said today, because one event chases another event. Toward reconciliation, or truth and reconciliation, the title of our episode, standing up for the truth and reconciliation. There's no such truth. There's no such reconciliation without truth. Start with the truth. Start with the fact, and the fact that this young woman expressed her concern about the orange flag. for say the south side of the border, it's the orange man. Here we have the orange flag. In Quebec, who heard about Lindsay Shephard? Nobody reads the Toronto Sun. Nobody reads in English in Quebec practically. Nobody reads. So, but even if you go on the website of Radio Canada, there was practically nothing. So for me, for example, it's an event of another country. It doesn't concern us. What concerns me is that you have some people in power, like we will talk a little bit later about the letter of Maxime Bernier. You have some people in power who act emotionally. Women, a lot of women in the House of Commons or in the National Assembly, whatever you are in Canada, they act emotionally, and a lot of castrated men too. They're not. I'm not a misogynist. I like Tim say, I hate them all equally. Oh shit! I hate somebody. I hate speech. We will talk a little bit later about Bill C-9.
Yeah,
it's entertainment. There's no way we can have reconciliation without a rational debate between communities. Every Canadian communities, the Native people, the English people, the Irish people, the French people, the Polish people, the Ukrainian people, the Italian people, the Greek people. I'm sure we'll forget some. The Vietnamese people who are here, and they are Canadian because they adopted the value of Canada, which should be free speech, the possibility to criticize a position based on fact. This is not what we're seeing now. And now my question would be, and for you, Payman and Tim, what is free speech today, considering a provincial party like the BC Conservative is kicking her out for speaking? Is it the truth? She gave her opinion, and she's penalized for that. Don't forget one thing: a lot of people lost their work since 2020-21 because they were against the vaccine quote unquote mandate. Let's not forget, this is the Canada we are in now. And me, this is not my Canada. I can be a Canadian, but not on those terms.
Yeah. You mentioned. Sorry, go ahead, Payman.
I was just gonna say, it's not so much the lie that bothers me. I mean, I could say, pick anything. All women are stupid. Women, they're useless. It's a lie, but when they start using the lie to as a weapon, basically. So they're saying that you had all of these First Nations in the graves. You know, we found dead bodies. It's a genocide, essentially. And then they're using that lie to go after Christians, Canadians. That's what bothers me, and that's the message we should be putting out to people. That's saying, what's wrong with having sympathy? This isn't about having or not having sympathy with the First Nations, whatever happened in the residential schools. This is about weaponizing a lie, and you see it with LGBTQ as well. Gender is non-binary, and they'll say, what's wrong? People can believe whatever they want. Yeah, sure, you can believe whatever you want.
We will talk about this later.
Yeah. And then
sorry, go ahead.
No, I'll throw it to you, Tim. But then we should probably talk about the implosion of the BC Conservative Party as well.
The result is intended, right? All the social, all the different siloed groups bristling whenever they come up near against each other, and all of this that's happening more on the internet, because I can be rude as hell to you on the internet. You can't reach through the IEEE cable and punch me in the nose, right? So this presupposition that I can say what I want to say without any repercussion, and there's a degree where that's acceptable because free speech, and maybe I shouldn't get my nose at a joint every time you say something I don't like. But the government is using this hypersensitivity, and it's not just the government, it's agents and agencies all around, lobby groups, et cetera, that primarily are swinging influence and getting paid to swing influence, right? So with these groups, And then you have what you mentioned, the weaponization of this social condition, which has actually given the government credence to begin making very aggressive and very broad brush strokes regarding what can and cannot be said on the internet in Canada.
Well, just take it to the street, for example. Can we say everything that goes through our mind in front of somebody? And Payment, please, could you bring the comment of Sylvie Jazzy, Clown World? Andre is Somalian in Canada, is a Somalian in Canada. He's not suddenly Canadian. And she is right. She's right in the sense that you are born on a territory, and then if you immigrate to another country, you still have your identity, but you go to another country for another purpose. And she's right. I just wanted to make a small correction because she is right. Can we say everything we want? No. You can.
And
Well,
we have
you
to
can.
expect repercussions.
Well, there's something, I can refer to the Tartuffe of Molière, when Tartuffe, he says, it is not a sin to sin in silence, meaning that I can refer to this woman who was praying in front of the abortion clinic. She was praying in silence in the United Kingdom. I think it was in London. And she was arrested by the police, and she was charged. And after that, she was discharged. They didn't prosecute her. But she was praying in silence. And this is where it is becoming very dangerous, because as soon as you become a public character, you just go on the street. You go on the street, you meet another person, and you say, hi, how are you? And you start to have an argument or a fight. And people immediately, what they do, and I think, Payment, you mentioned that a couple of times, they take out their camera, their mobile phone, and they start to film. Instead of debating, instead of discussing, this is childish behavior. And this is what we have in Canada now. Childish behavior. Instead of talking about the fact, debating the fact, we fall into the emotional behavior. And this is where it's not interesting at all. What can we do in front of somebody who's emotionally not stable? There's no debate.
Let me it kind of leads into our next topic, which is bills C2, 8, and 9. We do have, Andre, we do have free speech in Canada if you say the right things. So if you say that there was the residential schools massacre, you have free speech. If you say gender is fluid, you have free speech. They've weaponized all institutions, and now they're weaponizing the criminal system to go after their political opponents.
Yes, but that shows one thing, Payment. We don't have free speech. Instead of talking with it's like, I will give you a small example, economic example, negative growth. Economists, they call this, I laugh since many years. We have negative growth. Wait. Can you explain this to me? -5, it is negative growth. No, that's not growth at all. So instead of using the proper word, like you said, Payment, they weaponize the idea. And after, I'm sorry, if there's no remains, there's no fact, so there's no apology. I don't say that Native people did not suffer, but let's ask this question: who created I would say, the submission? Let's not forget, 2 weeks ago, we had Charles Fichtner, who was talking about right and privileges. And he was referring to some, the 13 colonies that had to go to Quebec, and they were told that they would keep their privileges to submit the local population. So is it really, we can call, say, white supremacist or Christian churches? Is it really that, or individual, like Tim mentioned all the time? It's not the structure of the structure of the institution that are bad in itself. It's the people who run them, who manage them. And I think we have to be careful, because Native people, they are manipulated by tribe chief. And I've seen this many times in the reserve in Canada. I'm ashamed of seeing some reserve, the status of poverty in those reserves, while the government is subsidizing them for decades. How come some tribe they don't have running water? We're in 2025, so do not point the finger at people who, like Tim said, stand up to question the narrative. Those people should be protected. And we call them whistleblower. It's not for nothing.
Yeah. The nonsense, the lie that is the Kamloops property covers a multitude of sins among the tribal leaders, organizations, lobby groups, contractors, mid-level government, bureaucrats, money movers, and members of parliament themselves. That has for decades, you talk about privilege and rights, has assigned rights to the Native peoples of Canada using the Indian Act as its hammer. And that has to end. That has to end. The Indian Act must be absolutely dismantled, must be completely dismantled. And the peoples of Canada must be able to come together and say, we need to find something that works. We need integration. We need to know that when money is put aside to put plumbing, potable water on our reserves, it gets done. It gets done, and it's not. And so these lobby groups and these public-facing organizations and agents and agencies, like the MP who wrote this open letter to Maxime that we'll talk about later. These public-facing agents and agencies are willfully hiding a multitude of crimes that have been going on for decades, absolute decades, and it absolutely must end. And the only way for it to end is to take the dross that is the Kamloops lie, clear it off the table, and start talking for real.
Right? If I may
I live in a town. I live in a municipality where there are, I think, and it's more than this number, but I'm going to use this number, 20 uniquely identified bands and tribes near or in the municipality in which I live. And the number, right? The incredibly poor condition of some of them. Some of them have done very well. Some of them are very, very well. But the majority of them are in really, really rough shape. And it's not just because alcoholism and sexual dysfunction and drugs and abuse and societal collapse are localized onto their living spaces, and that's intentional. But then you see the high percentage of people that are living on the streets in the downtown areas are also of indigenous extraction. And this is mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. And it's all of this that people can see when they turn off their phone or they go away from the computer and they go downtown to do a little bit of shopping or to go down to one of the tourist trappy places, and they see the people and they just ignore it. They just don't even see it. They don't even see it. And then they get their nose all bent out of shape or get excited because, oh, I got my orange shirt for $15 on sale. Like, I'm kind of done. I'm quite done. Yes, Clown World, at least 20 unique bands and tribes in this part of the valley. Yes.
Well, if I may just say, we think about the statue of John McDonnell that was taken down. They attacked, they attacked the past, or they weaponized the past. Most people, they weaponize the past because they cannot tackle the problem today. Those MPs or those MLA or those people who are public character, they just show that they are useless. If you always use the past to antagonize community, it shows that you cannot tackle the present. And if we do not fix the present, the disparity, for example, for Native people or for some communities, we show that we are that we are useless. I think that's one symptom. We see the symptom, but behind, like Tim mentioned, behind the symptom, you have much more deeper problem, and no politician ever addresses those problems.
Yeah, I think what really upsets me, now that you kind of triggered this in my mind, not upsets is the wrong word, troubles me the most about Lindsay Shephard's making this about her pregnancy or about the punishment is she got onto the soapbox, the lightning rod struck, and rather than take the limelight and go hard on the BS that is the Kamloops nonsense, she chose to talk about I might not get my severance pay. That's what that's about. 36 months pregnant. Oh, so this is about you getting your maternity leave.
36 months. Wow.
Sorry.
That's one big baby.
That's even more than an elephant. Right? Actually, that's the elephant's 2 years in it. Anyway, so but the golden opportunity lost, right, is that rather than take it and make real hay out of it, to say, okay, you want to fire, let's burn, right? And she didn't. She made it about her own financial condition, and
yes,
that's sad.
But like I said, it's not because she's a woman, but it's an emotional reaction, a rational. I think she did not do it on purpose, in the sense that, of course, after 36 weeks of pregnancy and you're about to go on leave to give birth to your baby, it's not.
I don't care. No,
yes,
I don't care.
but
No,
Tim,
she's still responsible. She's in a political position. She's a
yes.
communications manager.
Well,
communications is what she thinks, is what she eats, is what she breathes.
But she's not at the right place, first of all, and not everybody is able to compose or face the pressure.
Well,
that's another issue,
and burns it all on the public sphere.
Well,
I really do.
Opportunity. Everybody washes its dirty laundry today on X. Me, I don't do this because, first of all, I didn't have water this week. I couldn't even do laundry with my well. But the idea is, we public place and private property, private identity, or I think sometimes we have to be more reasonable. And I think maybe it's a mistake. She's not, maybe she will learn with this mistake. But the problem is more deep. The problem is really deep.
No, regarding her, she's been in the public light, national public light, for about 4 years now. So I'm less inclined to be.
We got to move this along, gentlemen. We got 2 more topics.
All right.
So, Tim, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, Tim and Laurie.
Thank you for reposting the stream. If everybody else could repost, we'd greatly appreciate it. I did an interview yesterday with Jeff Colvin. He was the former mayor of Chestermere, and his story is fascinating. It blows my mind that he's not bigger than he is. He uncovered corruption, gives it to the RCMP. The RCMP refused to investigate. So he goes to something called ACERT. It's a provincial organization specifically for when government agencies don't do their job. The RCMP gets cross with him, so they try to arrest him for surveillance, citywide surveillance, just on trumped up charges. They try to arrest the democratically elected mayor, and thank God the prosecutor for the province of Alberta refused. So he takes it to another department in Alberta to bring all of these things to light. And that department turns around and initiates a lawsuit against him within 7 days of election to ensure that he doesn't get reelected. Tim is talking about how, there's corruption. The purpose of this Kamloops hoax was to cover corruption within the tribes. This corruption is prevalent everywhere in our government, all over our country. And it's like a cancer that's spread to the marrow, to the blood, to the bones. I guess that's my way of transitioning into our next topic, which is Bill C2. We should probably talk about this. How is this going to affect the future of lies in this country? Andre, you shared these. Maybe you want to speak to that.
Well, if you go to Bill C2, first of all, the title, it is, wait a second, an act respecting certain measure relating to the security of the border between Canada and the United States, and respecting other related security measure. The first thing that I want to point out, it is in the summary. If you go to the part 4, I think it is page 1 or page 1. We can read we can read it together. Part 4 amends the Canada Post Corporation Act to permit the demand, seizure, detention, or retention of anything in the course of post, only in accordance with an act of Parliament. So the idea is to be able to control border. That's the official, I would say, the official goal. Behind that, I've discovered something interesting. I think if we go to the part a little bit lower, it says that Part 6 amend the Department of Citizenship, authorize the Minister of Citizenship and Immigration to disclose for certain purpose and subject of any regulation personal information under the control of the department, within the department, and to certain other federal and provincial government entities. So first of all, we don't know which type of information they're talking about.
Personal
and
information.
Personal information. But when you go more far in the text, you discover that they will remove, for example, for refugee, they will remove the country of origin.
Mm.
I ask myself why they would remove the country of origin from personal information. You have to know where the person comes from. First of all, when you are an immigrant, what do you have to provide? My wife is an immigrant. I went through the process 11 years ago. You need a police declaration. I'm sorry, this is mandatory. You don't have the choice. So if you remove the information about the origin of the person, how can you have a police declaration? It doesn't work. It is not logic. So the act is supposed to protect borders, protect immigration, and also protect refugee. But we don't know up to what point. The idea, in my opinion, is that it's very vague. It's very loose. So you have a lot. That's my comment. You have a lot of leverage from the authority and bureaucracy. This is maybe my first concern. The other thing that I will point out is that when they remove the origin of a refugee or a future immigrant, whatever, is it in accordance with the Global Pact for Migration of the United Nations?
100%.
I would be curious to compare this law, this text, with the Pact of Migration, and I would be curious. I didn't have the time to do it, but maybe we could use AI to compare the two texts and see if they are the same. It's like the World Health. It's like the World Health Organization and the Bill C-293. Do they copy and paste the text to follow the Pact for Migration? I don't know, but that's a question.
Can I
Tim, agree with you. And I think
Tim, before you go, let me just read this. I think Andre's just glazed over this and glossed over it like it wasn't a big deal. Maybe it wasn't his intention. Part 4 amends the Canada Post Corporation Act to permit the demand, seizure, detention, or retention of anything in the course of post, only in accordance with, like, you don't usually use the word anything in these bills.
No, you don't. No. My corporate budget has a line item that says anything. That's what they've done, right? That's a blank check statement. Anything, the blank check statement. So basically, Canada Post has been turned into the CSI arm, the data CSI arm for our security agencies, police agencies, by basically giving them the ability to dig into people's garbage to find their mail. Right. So now they have given police powers to Canada Post.
Well, today it is not true because they're on strike.
Just like the police. The police have been on strike since 1920, since
Do you
2020.
do you know that the Sûreté du Québec, the police, the provincial police in Quebec, cannot go on strike? It
I
is
heard I think the RCMP now have a union.
okay. Listen to this. This is funny because the provincial police in Quebec cannot go on strike, and they cannot receive. I think it's unemployment. It's quite fascinating. You read this and you say, okay, they cannot go on strike. Of course, they cannot go on strike because they are the armed weapon of the government.
You're
I
right.
want to point out one other thing that you mentioned. What you mentioned, payment, was very interesting. The other thing in this bill, it is Part 11. If you go, I think it is on.
I got it right here.
You got it right here. If we read it, part amends the proceeds of crime, money laundering, and terrorist financing act to prohibit certain entities from accepting cash deposit from third parties and certain person or entities from accepting cash payment, donation, or deposit of $10,000 or more. It also makes a related amendment to the proceeds of crime and terrorist financial administration monetary penalties regulation. Think about this, $10,000. So they can decide arbitrarily that they will not give you $10,000 and they will report you to the RCMP or the authority. It's quite, and the idea that they use the Terrorist Financing Act, the words are important. You could become, and then don't say it is not, it would be easy, but you could become, you could be considered a terrorist because you want to go and retrieve money, not illegally, but let's say you want to buy something that is $20,000 and you go to your bank account. Already today, they ask you a lot of questions. But first of all, you could say, I want to retrieve, I have $50,000 in my account, give it to me. Now, I close my bank account. You know what they will tell you? They will tell you, we cannot close your bank account. We will transfer the money to another bank. Why I cannot? Give me the money and I will bring it. No, they don't allow you this. All those banks, RBC, Laurentian, the Scotia, the what's it?
Desjardins.
Desjardins, it's not a bank.
CIBC.
CIBC, yes, exactly. Sorry. They're all in this. They're all in this to get National Bank also, I forgot. They're all in this. So you can never retrieve the money, the cash money. And this amendment brings another perspective. It's not only about the money, it's about the Terrorist Financing Act. How can they decide? There's no criteria for this. This is where
there are two things in this that pre-exist. I'm going to go back to 2003 when for a little while I worked on selling cars, and we were told flatly, if anybody comes in to pay cash or make a cash payment on a vehicle, they can't, if they bring in more than $5,000 cash, we are obligated to inform the RCMP.
Yes.
And that's in 2003. So this amendment clause here is updating that 5,000 to 10,000. In addition, the way the terrorist statement, the title is framed, makes me immediately think that this is a Canadian version of RICO from the States, right? So in some ways, Canada is getting caught up to Europe, because why wouldn't it?
Can you describe what RICO is? I've heard it, I kind of understand it, but just assume I don't know anything about it.
So RICO is basically where the government uses the legal system to seize the physical and financial assets of crime families and or terrorism and or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And a follow-up question, would it be accurate to say that the argument they're making is we don't want these people to be able to use the proceeds of crime to defend themselves in court, or is that the argument?
No, okay, so let's go back to the convoy and the freezing of the bank accounts. Using hate crime, they call them all terrorists and then seize their livelihood. Done. They weaponize RICO. Done.
Don't forget.
Everybody who commits a hate crime is a terrorist.
Well, we will talk about hatred a little bit later, and you can decide who is deciding who commits a hate crime. During the Freedom Convoy, there was a consensus. They call this a consensus. Me, I don't say this. It's not consensus. It's censorship. It starts with C, but it's not the same thing at all. There was a consensus that was fabricated by the mainstream media. There was no consensus. Why we had the Freedom Convoy? Because those people, those truckers were concerned about their job because they were bringing foods and goods to Canadian. Don't forget, do you remember? I think it was at the end of 2020. I think it was Justin Trudeau who said, we are grateful to those truckers who are continuing to bring goods and to Canadians during this very hard pandemic and blah 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 and blah blah blah. It was the same thing with the nurse in Quebec. The nurse were like the Quebec angel. They were painted like angels. And suddenly, when the vaccine, quote unquote, arrived, and some nurses started to say we will not take the shot, now they were demonized. Suddenly they were not angel anymore. They were terrorists, they were Nazi, they were fascist. All the vocabulary was used, and this is how you can weaponize the act. This act, there's another part in the act. If you go payment to the I think it is, let's see, I think it is page 4, part 14, amends various acts to modernize certain provision. There's a that's the one. And if you go to this article, allow a justice or judge to authorize in a warrant a peace officer or public officer to obtain tracking data or transmission data that relates to anything that is similar to a thing in relation to which data is authorized. I tell myself, shit, I write bad in English, but some people are better than me at to be obtained under the warrant, and that is unknown at the time the warrant is issued. That is unknown at the time. It is like, wait a second, give me a blank check. Go just a little bit lower. Allow a justice or judge to authorize a peace officer or public officer to make a request to a foreign entity. Is that another country, for example? Yes. That provides telecommunication services to the public to produce transmission data or subscriber of information that is in its possession of or control. This is internet control.
A foreign entity would be Huawei Telecommunications.
Well, maybe it is China. I don't know. Why? Yes, exactly. Right? I forgot. Yes, you are right. Why do you write this? Is Canada a national sovereign state?
No. Hey, if we're wiping out countries of origin in immigration documents, what
maybe
makes you think? And we are a post-nation state.
And
we're busy ignoring and erasing borders. Then what the fuck use is calling a country by its name anyway? Let's just dispense with the hindrance caused by being a country and just go back to, love is love. I mean, come on, we don't have to know that the Somali was a pirate down on the eastern side of Africa, raping and pillaging of tourist ships along the coast. But we don't, that's not important right now. The fact is that they're here as a protected people under this one. He identified as trans but truth, we don't say that it means transatlantic, but it's all garbage. It's all garbage. And our stupid middle-aged white folk eating it all up because we just want love. We just want to be nice. Canadians are nice. So now we don't have a country of origin. Oh, we already have this. Go to your local meat market and find yourself some Mexican meat that does not have a quality stamp on it. Fact. It already exists. Now that's not meat. Now it's meat on 2 legs. don't care about your country of origin. Come to Canada, we'll pay for it. And if you say anything against it and you're a local or born here, then you're guilty of a hate crime. So too bad.
They're all tied together. They're all tied
Let me
together.
let me
Yes,
make a.
it's
I want to
a
make an observation. Um, Andre, you've done a great, fantastic job of going through this bill. But at the end of the day, you don't have to read the bill. Like, we know these people are evil. This is just a declaration of where they want to go. Right? Their intention is total control, and they're laughing at us. You know, some guy wrote this bill. It's Friday. They're like, "Hey, do you guys want to go have a drink? Maybe do some drugs?" Like, but this bill is horribly written. It says that, you know, we're authorizing people. Anything that is similar to a thing, they're like, it'll never pass. What is Andre Milosh going to do? What is that guy going to do from his tomato farm? They're laughing at us.
First of all, the bill C2 is 140 page long. And then I said, I went through it this morning, you know, quite fast, because I read well, but you know, I wanted to find, I wanted to know the spirit of the bill. So if I want to be honest, I would say, give me the bill on paper. I will, at night, I will read it slowly. It will take maybe a couple of hours. The bill C8, the bill C9 are shorter, but still, do you think an MP in the House of Commons, when he receives this document, he will take 3 hours to read it quietly, to take notes, and after that to meet other MPs and to discuss about it, and the political or the juridical aspect or the legal aspect of them? The answer is no. They will not do it, because they will have, you know, a resume, a summary of the bill, and this they will say, okay, we will vote on it or we will not. What are the implications? Usually those bills, they are quite vague, and it gives the legislator full power to do whatever he wants. Where are what Tim always mentioned, check and balance? We don't see them. Nobody's questioning. I would expect, for example, Pierre Poilievre, or I would expect, I don't even know if the NDP has a leader, or if they are all still a party, or I forget about the bloc, but even the bloc. Let's be fair. How can they explain this to Canadians? That's their job, to read the document, to summarize it, to explain to Canadians what they will vote on and what will be the impact on their life. Nobody is doing this. Journalists, they're supposed to do this. They're supposed to read, and they're supposed to help Canadians decide what we call the fourth estate. Nobody's doing this. So we have to do it, and I'm not a lawyer. So I cannot put my reputation or my credibility on the line based on that. I'm just a writer and a reader, but I try to focus on those aspects. After that, it's up to every Canadian to be able to question their MPs, MLA, to ask them if they know about it, but will they do it? I don't know. I don't think so.
Go ahead, Tim, and then we'll move to C8.
C8, please.
All right. Just a reminder to people, if you could restream the room, we'd greatly appreciate it. Well, I guess we have to go back to Andre.
Your social circles. We want more exposure because ego.
Bill C8.
Mine anyway.
Respecting cybersecurity and amending the Telecommunications Act, making consequential amendments. I don't know. Tim, do you want to start, or should we go to Andre, since he's the one that went through this?
No, this is Andre's bag.
Well, again, this bill is 104 pages. I went through it this morning rapidly because it's quite long. I didn't find nothing unusual, but the only concept, the only concept of the title, cyber security. So, of course, in the bill, you will find some places where they ask a telecommunication provider to determine what is a cyber event or a cyber threat, and they do not define what is it. For example, internet is down. You have somebody who hack a system. There was Desjardins, I think it is, if I clone world, she was referred to Caisse Desjardins in Quebec. Caisse Desjardins is a cooperative, but it is still big. But in 2018, somebody hacked the database, and 60,000 people had their personal information hacked. And it is still in court today, 8 years after. And you can imagine you have your data, your banking account data that are going everywhere on the internet or whatever, the dark web. So that could be a cyber event. They don't define nothing. People who use VPN, virtual private network, people who are asked to, let's say, pedopornography, they don't define nothing. There's no requirement. There's no characteristic. So we arrive, and it's again, the bill is long. Where I would expect a workflow.
Yes.
And I would say, okay, this is the event. What do we do in this case? Or what? And you put the requirement of the event. The World Economic Forum was practically expecting internet crash down. They were saying, "Oh, it will happen. It has to happen. The risk is there." Well, if it is a risk for cybersecurity, and you can imply the security of the state, of the nation, you could say we need measure, but we have to identify what is a breach in security. There's nothing in the bill.
The breach in security is when I blocked Justin Trudeau, and he considers me a threat because I blocked him.
Well,
right. So I was just this whole thing, the truckers, the nurses, and the breach in security is in this case, the breach in cybersecurity was GoFundMe represented a breach.
Yes, exactly.
Right. If I'm, let's say I'm producing a scientific document or a large white paper or whatnot, does not my first section include a list of definitions?
Yes, that's
These are
it.
the words
Exactly.
that I'm going to use on a regular basis. This is what they mean. So don't screw around and try to play games with my words, because I have identified the boundaries. But these documents, simply by saying anything, anyone, anywhere, anytime, anyways, right, with any authority, and it completely ignoring the definitions. So what occurs to my mind is the right tends to talk about the Overton window, right? We're moving the Overton window, and I don't know if they got permission from Overton or consent or whatnot, but they're moving the Overton window. But the left does this too, because we have protected class, and that's the charter, right? The intersectionalism baked into the charter. We talked about this with Fichtner. Is the charter says, and it's not just sex, but it's also orientation, it's also life. So all these sub intersectional classes now get protection. However, the truckers were protected, and then they weren't. The nurses were protected, and then they weren't, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
exactly.
The government themselves will mess with the charter. They've proven this, right? Section 2, is it, right? So they've proven this, and they will move back and forth depending on who they want to protect, or which is the protected class for their current messaging. So if the Somali pirate who's immigrating to Canada needs to not to be known that he's a Somali pirate, then they're going to take that off, and not just him, but they'll just make it systemic to all of the applications. So then they will arbitrarily choose, no, I don't think this Georgian crime family is going to be identified as Georgian, or the Muslim Chechen, right, terrorist cell, that they'll just simply choose not to identify them. And then these laws, these bills, set it up so that if any citizens are suspect that there be shenanigans and say so out loud, right, like the temporary foreign workers who are intentionally being brought in, and they create a subclass of slavery in Canada because they're all turning into indentured servants. Even within their own caste system, which is alive and well in Canada, and the government is literally feeding that system. And we can't say anything out loud because you're racist, right? So all of these, the fence in which the sheep are contained, not only is the fence all razor wire, but it's flexible, right? It's flexible. So you get too close to the fence as a mindful citizen, you get too close to the fence, you're going to get cut.
No,
And the
no,
fence moves.
it's an electrical fence.
It's an electric fence, and it moves, and you don't know when or where it will move.
I think, Payment, if you bring the comment of Clown World, they most certainly will take away the internet. The next one.
What's the next one? Oh, there's more down
There's
here.
another
Sorry.
one. Yes.
33.
They most certainly will take away the internet from us, communication breakdown, hence why they introduce it in the first place. There's something when we talk
they don't
about
consider it taking away the internet. They're babysitting you because you're not a good citizen. So you can come back and play on the internet when you've learned your lesson. This is the same as that kid in China who had to smile to get on the bus, right?
Well, you are right. You're right, and they want to punish the behavior. When they talk about cyber incident, is hacking a cyber incident? Because I don't know about you, but since 2002, I stopped answering the phone. And my wife, sometimes she makes fun of me because the phone is ringing, and I said, "Oh, that's advertisement. That's a hack." And
you haven't answered the phone in 23 years.
I never answer the phone. I have a voicemail. Why would I answer the phone? But if I know that Tim or you or my family or whatever, or I call somebody, I'm waiting, of course I will answer. But I would say 3 times out of 4, it's somebody who wants to hack you, somebody wants to sell you something, and you can recognize the voice, you can recognize the style, you can recognize the pattern. It's at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning. It's at 5 o'clock at night. And if you are out of it, you never answer. Anyway, cyber incident. Does that include hacking the human brain? Because when we talk about some, I would say, very spectacular statement, I will just quote Yuval Noah Harari, who said that the human brain is a hackable device. So is the violation of human right? When we are in cyber security, it's our mobile phone, it's our internet connection, it's our contact with reality, whether it is virtual or real, because we are communicating through internet. We are communicating through telephone companies, to internet provider. We don't have any way of communication outside of this, else we go on public places.
Could there be an argument in that line? Could there actually be an argument or a discussion explored for social hacking?
Well, my question is,
we're manipulating social behavior.
I read a comment today that I did not see in the bill, but the comment was a backdoor in programming, in software, or in the platform. So you have backdoor, and you don't know that you have a backdoor. I can guarantee you, use any mobile phone. 95% of the population don't know how to use more than 5 or 10% of the apps that they have on their mobile phone. Outside of a selfie and message text, the rest it's out of their scope. There are backdoors everywhere. That's a specialty for programmer to do backdoors. And I can refer to Telegram with Pavel Durov, and he was blackmailed by the French government. I will just finish. He was blackmailed by the French government, so they would implement a backdoor in Telegram, and he refused because the Russian army is using Telegram. But you can imagine if they can do this. If they can do this to an institution, they can do this to you very easily, and you will never know it.
we got to move this along. It's a fascinating topic, but could we maybe move to Bill C9?
Yes, of
To
course.
max to amend the criminal code. I'll bring up the relevant portions, Andre.
Yes, okay, and the act is, the hate crime. This is the topic of the moment. Everybody talks about hate crime. Nobody talks about this. Why they don't do a bill about love? The bill of love, that would be
It's
very
called the
nice.
budget. They just do it on the table.
But if you go at the yes, create an offense. Okay, that's good. Create an offense of intimidating a person in order to impede them from accessing certain places that are primarily used for religious worship or by any identifiable group for certain purpose. I just wrote a small comment. I said, okay, hate crime. When you talk about religious places, does that include abortion clinic?
Good
If
point.
you worship Moloch, sure.
If you, so because I am reading again, I refer to Robert Graves, the Greek myth, ritual sacrifice of children.
Yes.
So you can imagine that woman in London. She goes and prays in silence in front of an abortion clinic.
Yes.
And this is considered hate crime. Again, I go back to Tartuffe. I can decide that I don't like Justin Trudeau in my mind. Do I commit an act? They want to mess up. That's why I was referring to Harari. They want to mess up our brain and say, okay, we will determine what is a hate crime and what is not a hate crime. Payment, you were saying earlier, you were saying they use the language to weaponize group against other. They manipulate language, and this bill is about manipulating language.
Go back to that highlighted bit for one minute. So the first thing that comes to mind is this is to prevent Arthur Pawlowski from telling the cops to fuck off, right? That's what this is for. However,
in a polite way,
right, or by an identifiable group for certain purposes, that gives Antifa opportunity to push into a church when a Christian singer who's not publicly he's like on the blacklist. So
Sean
this
Fudge.
is right. This is the Montreal event. Identifiable group for certain purposes. What's the stop an angry mob of Antifa, use identifiable group, from breaking into a church wedding? I can't stop them now. Right? What's the stop drag queen story time to break off of the parade and go into a church and then demand an audience with the member and get the audience, because to prevent them would be intimidation.
Guys, earlier I said these laws don't matter. We know where they're going. It's just an intent of where they're going. I always complain about people older than me, before me, who brought the bad laws, which now we have to live under. Like all of this monetary reforms, all of this, you can't withdraw your cash, all this crap, But we're those people. We are the bad people that are creating this horrible system that we're now going to hand off to the youth. Like, if we don't stop this now, we are responsible for the communism that we're heading towards.
Yeah. Yeah, it's my generation. I turned 57 shortly. It's my generation writing the bulk of these unbelievable legislations and ridiculous mandates and bureaucratic garbage. It's my generation that did it. And so there's a joke that runs around and says, my generation rise up with the DC boys, right? We're not going to take it. We're not, right? Well, we are in fact taking it, right?
And dishing it out.
Swallowing it very deep.
Yeah.
If you go,
this is a PG-13 podcast, Andre. Go easy there.
If you go to the section 2.2, willful promotion of hatred, terrorism, and hate symbol.
Yep, I started here.
This is interesting. The Nazi Hakenkreuz, I'm sorry for the German, also known as the Nazi swastika, or the Nazi double sigron, also known as the SS bowl, or a symbol that so nearly resembles a symbol described in paragraph A or B that that it is likely to be confused with that symbol. Who wrote this piece of shit? It is
Dr.
what?
Seuss.
Shakespeare must be completely devastated in his grave. You know the swastika. It's a symbol that is, and in ancient Greek, it is everywhere. It is everywhere.
It is one
Why
of the
it is
oldest pictographs in the world.
exactly? And finally, we start to see they want to depict symbols, and after that, they will decide which one will consider hate speech.
Oh, the
You know,
cross. The Christian cross is next.
Well, we're not far from that. Some
Yeah.
people, some people. Let's not forget that the actual Prime Minister of Quebec, François Legault, in 2019, when he was elected Prime Minister, or he was designated Prime Minister, he removed the cross from the National Assembly. The first thing he did, he
Wow.
removed the Christian cross over the bench of the President of the National Assembly. That was a very significant symbol. I remember at the time I wrote a small article about it. So we are going toward, and this is important, this one too, we are going towards something that will be, again, arbitrarily decided, like Tim mentioned. Display of symbol was for legitimate purpose, including a legitimate purpose related to journalism, religion, education, or art that is not contrary to the public interest. Again, who decides?
Yes.
And one more thing, I will just, if in good faith, for example, if you are in an atheist society, can you refer to the word faith? I like those idea how they use the language. That was the modus operandi of the Bolshevik in the 1930 Soviet Union. They were rewriting the vocabulary and the language.
Tim.
The
He's,
Christian
if
cross
he's
is
frozen.
next. No, the Christian cross is next. So basically, we're gonna Christianity is going to resort back to about 200-ish AD, 100-ish AD, when they were using a fish symbol and inscribing a fish symbol as that was their group identity symbology. So we're going to lose the cross, which is actually a quasi-Christian because it's ridiculously common in many quote unquote pagan cultures. Like a lot of the crosses from Ireland and Celtic history are not actually Christian crosses. They're
Exactly.
actually symbols of the sun. These are sun worship symbols. You see a shortened cross with a ring around it or a halo. That's a sun worship symbol, right? So that this is literally opens the beginning of the door for Ingsoc to literally remove history.
Yes.
I prevent you from using the symbols of your group, even your in-group, or I change the meaning, and I, under punishment, under threat of negative reinforcement. That's the brain hack, is the negative reinforcement. And then the reward, right? So you like throw the stick, bring back the stick, you get a reward. The reward with negative reinforcement is we don't beat you today. So there's no actual reward.
Today.
No,
right? Today.
He's right.
Today.
He's right.
Today. That's the brain hack. And eventually, when you get on the bus and it's facial recognition and you're having a bad day and you're grumpy and it red lights you and says, you can't get on the bus until you smile, comrade.
Exactly.
Right?
And
or you step on the bus and you've got a cross and says, no, you can't get on the bus because somebody on the bus will be offended that you have a symbol. And so you're not allowed until you have to take it off. So people are taking off their cross and putting it in their pocket to get on the bus.
Well, you know, in Quebec, we have the Bill C-95 for a secular state, and people in position of power are not allowed to wear significant signs like a cross. But strangely, you have a lot of primary school now that were hijacked by I would say Islamic ideology. Strangely, you say why they were allowed to promote this type of ideology while they are forbidding, for example, the cross. There's one thing in the article, if you go about to it payment in hatred, huh?
Got it
You
loaded
were
right here.
yes, exactly. What is interesting? Hatred means the emotion that involves detestation or vilification, and that is stronger than disdain or dislike. So, first of all, when we talk about an emotion, we live in a post truth era, and we say there's a part a little bit more far about gender identity. Exactly there. Under this act or any other act of parliament, if the commission of the include offense is motivated by hatred based on race, national or ethnic origin. Strangely, you have national here, and you remove it in the other bill.
Yes.
Language, it's language, color, religion, sex, age, mental or
This
physical
is
disability,
intersectionalism again.
sexual orientation, or gender identity or expression. So my question is, if I express my identity and no one can dispute it, then identity has no value because it cannot be compared to something else. So when we
Unless you're
think
part
about,
of the protected group.
well, if we think about, that's why I wrote a small. So Canada becomes a territory without identity, a post-nation country. What you mentioned, Tim. And First Nation no longer have the right to claim Canadian land or ancestral because I can identify as Indigenous. And finally, we're all equal, slave before the law. Do not forget one thing. I can arrive today and I can declare that I identify as Indigenous. Do I have to provide DNA? No.
Yes, you will, because you dare to identify as part of a protected group.
Wait a second. If I identify as a woman today, do I have to go and have a chromosome test?
Andre, you're
No.
thinking, you're too logical. You're too logical.
No, no. Listen, this is very important because when you arrive with this, there's no differences. There's no more differences, and this is this is the definition of communism. Communism is how do you make everybody equal? I'm taller than Tim. Well, they will beheaded me. That's quite simple. They will not permit differences. And this is would be a message to First Nation. Do not find your real enemy. Find your real enemy. It is not other community in Canada who are your enemies. Find your real enemy. Why they subsidize you to keep in poverty or to make you feel like a victim all the time. Stop playing the victim. Stand up. You have some great Native people. We have a great story in Canada. Stand up and face the real enemy, which is actually the federal government.
I
And
feel silly even saying this. You've highlighted section 423.3.
it is. Come on.
Oh my God. 423.
It's
But
longer
you
than the
see,
Bible.
Tim is right. You see, the subsection double I by an identical group. It's exactly what Tim was mentioning.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and also the first 5 words of that highlighted section, that's the summation of the act.
Yes.
Every person commits an offense.
We are all
Put a
sinners.
period there. Put a period there. Every person commits. So it's just a matter of when you do that is most advantageous to where we're moving the needle today.
So, but imagine the phrase, with the intent to provoke a state of fear. Imagine tomorrow I arrive in front of a person and I say, for me, gender is an ideology. Gender identity is an ideology, and it is not proved by fact. And the person has a fit, goes to the hospital, and after that they come and arrest me because they say you provoke a fit. Wait, I just expressed an opinion.
Andre, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. they're going to use this on their opponents. So,
Of course.
so they're
Of course.
when anybody to provoke a state of fear, if they are threatening to throw Maxime Bernier in jail for hate crime, and it invokes a state of fear in me because I might think that they're coming after me next, they're not going to arrest that MP who said that, or the Assembly of First Nations.
Of course, no.
It's like they're never going to use this to go after Justin Trudeau, even if he's completely violated this. They might use it against Pierre Poilievre, probably not. Definitely Maxime Bernier. Definitely Dallas Brody. If I was her, I'd be worried. But they're just going to go after their enemies.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Yeah, and kiss goodbye to public protests.
Oh yeah, that's a long time.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we saw the difference. You talk about public protests. We saw the difference with the Antifa who attacked Alexa Lavoie from Rebel News this week when she was trying to. She found the man who threw the smoke bomb in the churches. That was quite fascinating. No, but there's no arrest. Nothing.
Why don't
there's
we
not even
throw
an
that
inquiry.
one? Let's throw that over to Tim if you want to talk about the Antifa thing. But we have to move on to our last topic, which
let's
is,
move on.
roughly speaking, what's happened to Max.
Yeah, let's move on.
Go ahead, Tim.
Well, so let's roll this all the way back to when Max was arrested for showing up at a public event during the climate lockdowns. I mean, COVID lockdowns. 2021 was it during the 2021 election? I believe it was, and his famous statement. Now, when the RCMP asked him, do you have any weapons on me? And he said, only my words. And at the time, I thought, oh, as a pundit, that's solid gold. That's going to end up in history books. The only problem is now it's going to bite him in the ass because it's becoming true. His words
literally, yeah, he had a weapon with him.
Right? Yeah. He literally has a weapon on him now. And so, and any Canadian, Dallas Brody, for example, anyone who speaks up, and if the Minister for Indigenous Affairs, who's new to this role, and I think needs to make a public statement to say, I'm in the House. So she writes an open letter to Maxime Bernier, which is like, are you kidding? This is ridiculous, right? Yeah, I mean, she's from none of it. Like, really? It's just.
Oh, what is this? I thought my writing was big. Abitibi Bay James Nunavik AU Deputy Abitaid. Oh, it's just a different way of spelling it.
She did it in French as well.
Well, can I just tell you a small anecdote? About a month ago, the chief doctor of the health system in Quebec was walking in Montreal near Le Bay, the Hudson Bay Company building, and there was a man who arrived with an electric scooter, and the man was, I would say, he was not careful, but. And that man, that doctor, chief doctor, he was practically hit by the electric scooter. And he turned around and he said, "What are you doing?" They start to argue. It was on X everywhere. And the man said, "I'm sorry, I didn't see you. You crossed at a red light." And the man, the chief doctor, he turned around and said, "Do you know who I am? Do you know who you talk to?" And it is like, you piece of shit. Get out of my way. And when we look at the accountability of those people, they are arrogant, aggressive. They are above the law. And they use any comment or any statement, because Maxime Bernier is the leader of the People's Party, so he makes a statement as a politician. He's a public character. So they will attack him, and there's no fact. Because I'm sorry, you can say, yes, they were people who were mistreated by the institution. But toward the Kamloops grave, where are the remains? I go back again to this. Where are the remains? And the statement, and maybe Tim, you can comment on this. The statement of Maxime Bernier is very clear. He's not denying that. He's not denying the history.
Yeah. And keep in mind that people in a political sphere are often intentionally using short, densely packed statements in order to generate interest in conversation. But he has going what's well we have there's a policy on indigenous indigenous relations that is reasonably comprehensive in that it says we need to go back to the beginning and and invite the indigenous people themselves into the conversation so that we can sort through the injustice of the Indian Act and give them their dignity back. So so that the body of what he's trying to accomplish as a party and hopefully to what he would do in Parliament is to break open the act and give the people that actual opportunity to have their own voice in the process. So part of what he has to do is cut through the dross that's in the public sphere. And that dross is the Kamloops. It's nonsense. It's a lie. It's a lie. So he calls it a lie. And he said, this is garbage. This has to stop. And so rather than do her research, she pulls a Jagmeet Singh during the one debate that he was able to participate in, where Singh says, you don't even belong on this stage. You discredit everything we're trying to do here. She's pulling the same game. So
what did he say that to?
I can't remember which. It's I don't remember specifically. I'm pretty sure wasn't
it Bernier he said that to?
Yes, he said it to Bernier. So Jagmeet Singh said to Bernier during the one national debate that he was able to participate in, basically said, you don't belong on this stage. You are a discredit to the Parliament, right? She's doing a similar thing. So what you have is you have these middle management people who need to piss on their tree to make their mark. And that's what she's doing. It's straight up ego. It's straight up ego.
And I remember Justin Trudeau in a political rally, I think it was in 2018, a little bit before the election. There was a woman who asked him about immigration. She asked him a question about immigration. And he went ballistic. And he said, I quote, he said, Madam, she's a Canadian citizen. He said, Madam, you don't belong in Canada. You don't belong in, wait a second. What are you talking about? You're supposed to be the Prime Minister of Canada, and you talk to a citizen like this. So they act with contempt, and they use their power to bully other peoples.
That was
it's
Trudeau?
not. This is not extraordinary. It's the norm today. It's the norm, and you can see it in municipal, provincial, federal election. Yeah. As soon as they have a little power, you know the structure of the Gestapo. The structure of Nazism, it is every person is afraid of his superior.
Yeah.
And he will bully the person that is under his authority.
That's our political party system.
That's the way it works.
Yes.
That's the way it works.
Yes.
So as soon as they have a little bit of power.
Yeah. How many Eastern European and Russian short stories include a local mayor or sheriff or bureaucrat who lords over heavily and cruelly everybody in the town beneath him and is himself cowed before his own superiors, and everybody knows.
The short story of Mikhail Bulgakov, who was a great Ukrainian Russian writer, one of the greatest. All those short stories about the kolkhozs and how they were controlled by people who abuse their inferior. It's first of all, it is laughable, it is funny, but also it shows the reality of what we're seeing now.
Yeah. So we have a governmental. So I made a joke on Facebook. I said, we don't have democracy in Canada, we have bureaucracy. Right. So that's an aside. We have completely lost any sense or obligation to noblesse oblige. It's gone. It's gone.
There's one thing I've noticed. I've watched some videos of a municipal assembly in Montreal, and some citizens, they go and ask councillor or the mayor, they ask question, and when they answer, not only they're really arrogant, but I feel that it is incompetence. I feel that they're so naive that they believe what that what they're saying. The woke behavior is, this is, it's post reality, it's post truth, it's performative. They say something like bike lane, for example. That's an example. This is for the good of people, and that's it. There's no debate. We lost this capability of having rational debate. Did we ever have it? I don't know, because I was never a member of parliament, and I could not compare two era, like let's say in the 50s and today. But we lost this capability between adults.
This speaks back to what we mentioned earlier about that it's our generation doing this. So in one show, we'll have a conversation about how universities have completely lost their obligation, their original mission, which is to educate in logos, not just pathos, to have a balance of the two in their educative process at the universities. And now they've fallen straight into pathos, which is all emotion driven, and socialism, Marxism, wokeism, etc. Well, my generation went to those universities. And so those bureaucrats and middle management and white collar that came out of those universities, they're in government. Now we know why they're incompetent. They went to these stupid universities and learned nothing but the oppression of man. And now we have to do something to like they're so hard done by. The incompetence is fed by an education system itself. So now we have a recursive loop. A self-supporting recursive loop. And this has been happening since the early 70s.
Well, that reminds me of the Horoboro.
The what?
The Horoboro.
Horoboro.
The infinite snake.
Infinite snake. The snake that hits his tail.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. They self-supply themselves with their fantasies.
Yeah. So we've discussed in the past how in the Marxist theory of endless revolution, the revolutionary becomes the counter-revolutionary, becomes the revolutionary, becomes the counter-revolutionary. Right. So there's that's the Ouroboros, that's this cyclical process. And the way that it is being manifest in Canada in the last 10 years, increasingly, though, I think the term is getting shorter and shorter between these events, is they move the protected class, right? So the truckers and the nurses were the revolutionaries. They're standing on the line, they're doing the job. But then we decide that, well, the counter-revolutionary is the vaccine mandated, so that's the counter. And then so you have to throw the revolutionaries under the bus, because that's the way the system works.
Under the truck,
so right?
Under the truck, yes.
Under the truck, right? So be careful that if your protected class today isn't thrown under the bus tomorrow, because that's the way they work. Look at feminism. Feminism gave birth to transgenderism. And now transgenderism is eating up feminism, cannibalizing it.
Exactly. This is very important what you mentioned, because when you read the Logos Libido Dominandi, it's very well described. And you're right. The purpose of a civil war, and I'm not just talking about violent event. We can talk about a civil war of information. And we are facing, your ally today can become your enemy tomorrow because he doesn't like you, because you're part of a group, and one day they target your group. Yeah. That's right. Divide and conquer. It's not new, but we see it now. And how do we react? The only way we can react is trying to stay rational, to stay reasonable. I don't say it is easy on X or on Twitter, on YouTube, or whatever platform you use. It's difficult. Imagine when you go to a protest. We saw it with the pro-Palestinian protest in Montreal last year. They were everywhere, and you cannot go and you cannot debate or discuss with those people. Antifa, it's the same thing. They're starting to be extremely violent, and they are they're very well organized. Huh? They're
I-
very well organized.
Well,
wanna bring
when
up two
someone
things.
brings pallets of bricks to your corner of the street at 4 o'clock in the morning before, you know someone's at the top.
George Soros.
Yeah.
I wanted
Just
two
sorry to cut
things.
in real quick. Sorry. In high school, I read a short story about two snipers in Ireland during the 70s. And they're on rooftops across basically, like residential areas. At night, knew each other was there, but were trying to make the shot until finally one of them makes the shot and then goes down through the day and up to, because he has to confirm the kill, and it's his own brother.
Yeah. Interesting. And well, I think she is right. Strong men are coming, at least strong men who are not already castrated. Castration. I'm always making jokes about this,
Is that the
but
cleric
it's not.
class in China?
It's not. It's not.
The eunuch?
It's not about. It's not about physiology. It's about how do we express ourselves in public. Internet is a way to express ourselves in public. In the supermarket, in the shopping center, in a mall, everywhere we are. How do we behave? I can understand when I was 18 years old, I was not talking to people like I do today because I try to be my age. I try to be mature. I understand when you're 18, you don't have the same type of behavior, but at least if you have civism, you're able to have a discussion. We see it with this letter. I think Maxime Bernier's intention was not to undermine the history of Canada, but I think he was also pointing out that we have to base our analysis on fact.
Well, our entire system, our way of life is based on lies. In this case, it's based on a very big lie. Zero bodies. It's based on a massive lie, and people are going about pretending like you can build a society based on lies. And it doesn't work. I mean, you can make it work, but in this case, it's not working.
It will not work. Don't forget, they're still pushing the mRNA injection. They're still pushing the agenda. It did not change. It is more soft. It is less hard. But it is still there. It is still there. And we talked about the digital ID last week. They were pushing all aspect of control, and we're not the only one, because we are a colony of Great Britain, like Australia and New Zealand, and we are aligned with the European Union, what I call today the Euro communist. In my next article that is coming, I will talk about the Euro communist.
What did Trotsky call that? Social democracy?
Social democracy. It's quite fascinating, this expression, social democracy. You have socialism.
I was going to ask, what's the opposite of Plato's noble lie? This is not even a noble lie.
Well, noble lie. You can read Machiavelli and you understand that the noble lie is something that permits you to control the political agenda. There's no such thing as a noble lie.
And as long as the government and bureaucrats has control of the justice system, they will win.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
They will win. As long as they have control of the justice system, they will win. Yeah. And you notice that what was once upon a time a three branch government system, right? So you have the legislation, the legislative, justice, and military. They've now basically ignored the military and then split legislation into executive and legislation. And then they name them as two separate things, but then both past two prime ministers have absorbed them unto themselves. Right? And so the legislative and or executive has become one, like effectively, administratively, one body, because there's nobody in the House of Commons who will speak against Carney for any length of time. Nobody with any actual, nobody with the will to stand up for a minute of silence, right? And the judiciary has been completely bought out. Now, whether it's blackmail, they go up to a judge and say, "Hey, listen, I have pictures of your granddaughter. She's a really pretty girl. Would be a shame if something happened to her." Because I think we're there. I think that's happening. In 2024, the Justice Minister at the time bragged that publicly on social media that he personally appointed more than 700 judges across Canada. I'm thinking, you're a freaking MP, man. You have people who do this work for you. Why are you doing this phenomenal amount of paperwork yourself, except you were told, right? So he was given a mandate from up above him that said, you are going to appoint judges here and here and here and here and here, because we've determined that we need these voices in these places at this time. He did it 700 judges in 1 year himself. This is bent. This is bent, right? Right. So, I mean, no wonder the cops are like, screw this. There's no point even doing our job. I just might as well just go in and get my paycheck.
Get the paycheck.
Right.
Get the
paycheck. Stay in the car because I don't want to be on the wrong side of this. Right. So I don't want to be here. Maybe summer. Right. So they say, I'm going to stay behind the front line and just drive the car, do my beat cop thing. Because if I actually go and do my job, I'm going to be pulled up on the carpet for going counter to the mandate that our detachment has been given. And that detachment has been told, don't mess with the judge. And the judge has been told, the cops will go along with you. We've already got that sorted out. You just make sure that these people, when they get dragged up from in front of you for all their heinous crimes that they do back in Somalia or in India and don't get away with, because they're dragged into the streets and dealt with, that they get away with it here in Canada because we have a larger goal in mind. So you, Mr. Justice, keep your full mouth shut, and we'll make sure that your debts are paid and that your children live long enough to go to university. That's where we are. The only explanation.
To have a PhD in political science or in journalism.
Right?
If that exists.
So now we've got an MP sending a cease and desist letter to another political party leader. What? Like pistols at dawn, sucker. This is ridiculous.
Well, I think there's a sense it's intimidation.
Yes.
It's intimidation.
Speaking of,
that shows lack of maturity, and
yes, it does.
And we see it everywhere. People are starting to behave like animal,
and they behave poorly because they can get away with it.
They can get away with it, so they behave. When I say they behave like animal, they like, you may always mention Tim, the amygdala. I forgot the word.
The amygdala.
Amygdala.
Right.
So they do not
goes through our emotional center first.
Yes, and they do not, and that's why, because they were not educated. They were trained to act like this. As soon as you arrive and you have you try to have a rational discussion, the emotion kicks in. You cannot. It's very difficult everywhere. You have to temper the debate or the discussion. You can just go to the supermarket and people will start to fight over nothing.
Yeah,
we saw this.
Once upon a time, we raised our children to say, I know that you feel this way, but you need to be disciplined. You need to act your age. So we used to train children. Now, granted, we weren't especially good at it because we did ignore the value of pathos. We did ignore at times, right? But we were taught, manage your emotional state. Manage your emotional state. Say, right, use your words, right? That type of thing, right? So that we encourage children to express themselves in an effective manner and say, tell me what you want, what you need, not just what you feel. So now we have an education system that's hyper focused on feeling, hyper focused on the word that that MP used, lived experience. Everybody has a lived experience, and it's all on a spectrum. Thank you very much. But so we've come to a point where now we have people in actual political power, real influence, real ability to stop people from living in, like the comfort and normal quote unquote life. All because they can get away with behaving off their pathos, their amygdala, without exercising maturity and self-discipline to say, this is bigger than me. How do I need to apply this properly?
It's interesting when you read the letter, the profound disappointment, and when she addresses Maxime Bernier as a former member of parliament, it's all emotional. There's no recognition of the actual situation. There's no debate. Those statements, they're always a declaration. We have in literature, we study performative language. The performance, the declaration, or the statement. Those are three different ways to address somebody. And if you use the performative language or you use the declaration, there's no place for debate. There's no place for discussion.
Okay.
I will do this.
Okay.
It means there's no way you can debate. And it's important to read this letter to understand the style.
The first paragraph, it says, your words disregard the lived experiences of thousands of children and families whose lives were shattered. They always do this. They go to the past and they try to relitigate, and they can pretend to be morally superior. They accuse us of hate speech.
Yes.
For not indulging their fantasies.
Yes.
Gender is fluid.
Yes.
And then they ignore what they did to us during COVID. I mean, they othered us. There was segregation.
If we refer to gender identity, if somebody wants to identify as a tree, like I said, I don't care. Just be careful, because maybe you'll have a lumberjack who will take care of you. I don't care. But if you start to ask me to define yourself, and we always talk about identity, what are our Canadian value? What is our identity? If somebody arrived and say, I was making a joke in one of my last article. Why do people in a psychiatric hospital do not identify as Napoleon? Because they don't know the character. They just don't know. The joke is they are ignorant of history, and they arrive and they want you to be ignorant like them. I'm sorry. I read a book on history of Canada, for example. I will not undermine the fact that you had some conflict. Charles Fichtner 2 weeks ago was talking about what was happening. Let's not depict, for example, the First Nation as all good people and the white quote unquote population of Canada as bad people. Read Albert Mimi, Portrait of a Colonizer and the Colonized. Read this book, 200 pages. He was from Morocco. He was a mathematician, and he's showing that it is not white and black. It is tinted. The colonizer brought some good things, and he brought some bad things. The colonized react toward the good things and the bad things. This is how historians will study history. It has to be outside of ideologies. I don't say it is easy to do it. Historians, they have a very big responsibility to paint event in an objective way, even if it is difficult.
Guys, we're coming up on 2 hours. Tim, do you want to maybe have the final words?
The indigenous phenomena that has been born out of initially the Truth and Reconciliation documents, recently, and then DRIPA and UNDRIPA, right? And then the UN sticking their nose using SDG to influence, and then LGBTQ reaching into the young Indigenous population and fucking with them, intentionally turning them into the poster child for dysfunctions, and they don't care. They don't care. Governments saying we're gonna build like potable water systems. It's 2025. Are you kidding me? They should have had potable water systems in 1925, right? So this stacks, and the injustices on the government side stack and stack and stack and stack, and then they paint the taxpayer as the oppressor, and they paint the current native as the victim. And yes, extraordinary atrocities have happened to these people, and they need to find some way to crawl out of it, and we need to find some way to assist them. But it doesn't involve handouts. It doesn't involve retribution payments or anything. It doesn't involve that. It involves stop fucking around with the people and bring them justice in their own reserves, right? To this MP who's intentionally gaslighting with an open letter, and she's child shielding, right? Just child shielding. Think about the children. We get it. We're not stupid. Stop doing that. If you really cared about the Indigenous people, then you'd go and talk to them and not their representatives, who have almost to a man been bought or sold out to varying degrees. So the issue is this MP who's getting paid to play a line, and none of it has one federal seat, and she's it. And they made her, because she's Native, they made her the MP for Indigenous Affairs. Who do you think did that? I don't think Carney did. I think the Crown did. Who's really in control of the country? Who has the smarts? Who has the know-how of 400, 500 years of manipulating peoples through colonizing efforts? The Crown. The Crown does. And the sooner we break the back of that, the better off we'll be.
It's a shame Wolf isn't in the audience. He would love to hear that.
Right?
Mm-hmm. But still, Tim, you're right. We just have to continue to fight, but also to discuss and debate. But we cannot discuss if people are emotional and they deny the fact. We have to agree on facts first. After that, we can debate. We cannot say that the history of Canada was peaceful. It's not true. It's not true. It's based on conflicts. It was based on violence, and the native people. I think about the Iroquois or the Mohawk, who were scalping settlers. It's well documented. Do not depict, I would say, call them Christian colonizer if you want, but you cannot depict them as violent, and the native people would be the victim. I say to people, stop playing the victim. Stop playing the victim. Stand up. Stand up as man and woman. Stand up. Have debate. Discuss.
Yeah. I mean, we get it. We come on this show and we blow off steam, and we try to expose things and find out what is not really being identified by the mainstream or other podcasters. But the bottom line is we want to be a solutions-based group. So the things that we try to expose, the things we try to show or talk, maybe we're not even exposing anything. Maybe the audience is smart enough to go, yeah, we've seen this already. You guys are slow to the party. Maybe so, but we want solutions, and we want you to think of solutions-based. So we're going to sit here and blow up all over, or, all the pathos and say, look, Logos is going out the window. Nobody's actually looking for the truth anymore. Everybody's amygdala is like completely fired up. Yes, but we need solutions. So It always comes back down to solutions based. The only way forward is solutions based. And when I say I am Canadian, I mean you too. And that doesn't matter. I don't care what color or shade or where you swing. I don't care. If you were born in Canada, you're Canadian. And if you came to Canada and you've assimilated as best you can to adopt our new country as your home country, then good for you. I am also Canadian. But if you're not, get out.
Should we end it?
The title of the next episode, Get Out.
Get out. Yeah.
Get out.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you. A big thank you to my co-hosts, and thanks to the audience for listening, and thanks to the Clown World for participating. Oh, I definitely disagree with that, Tim. Okay, well,
it's okay.
I read it as agree.
We
we'll
have the
revisit it
right to
next time.
disagree. We have the right to disagree.
Yeah, we'll tune in next week for the disagreement from Tim.
Well, so the next week's title is going to be "I Don't Think So, Tim."
Keep it in mind.
All right, take care, guys.
Have a good weekend.